all night long. Fancy helping some faces, young and old, to warm the hearts when it's snowing and it's cold. You're gonna have to find a crew, it can't be anyone. They'll have to be there by your side and do what must be done. So go, man, you know that you have it night through day. The pain you feel it to bring it on with the Archie County Band. Doubts come and some may never die. So I'll ask myself, should I stop before I try? No way, man, mistake, it has been said. I'm all in, so there's nothing I'll regret. But time is ticking and there's so much that's going through my mind. Will I make it? Yes, I will. Our spirits are entwined. So let's get this show on the road. I'm here, I'll stay and I'll carry the load to bring it on with the Archie County Band. But hold on a second now, I'm starting to feel the strain. Was it a bicycle? What is wrong with my brain? Is it the end of me? No, I must still believe. So I'm still in love, you see. Heck yeah, now I'm on my way. But let's stay focused, there's still a job in hand that we must do. Good afternoon, folks. You are very welcome to Bandido Talks. Well, here we are. We had a good show yesterday. Valentine's Day. We talked all about it. Why it's a whole bunch of garbage. We had to get that out of the system, folks. It was very important to get the week off to a very productive start. And that meant ensuring that all of you realize that Valentine's Day is a whole bunch of bollocks. So we got that out of the system. And so we got the week off to a really good, productive, useful start here on the show. And then we come around to Tuesday. And the Bandido is greeted with the world-altering news that during the Winter Olympics, apparently, the Canadian curling team, both the men and the women, have been accused of cheating. Now, of course, folks, I have to be honest and upfront. I don't know anything about curling. In fact, who does know anything about curling? What the fuck is curling? It's like brushing on ice. Who watches this? And I mean, we have to be honest here, folks. When we're referring to this sport that we are going to call curling, let's be honest. Curling is a bit like rapping in the world of music. Why does someone become a rapper? We talked about this over on Rumble last week or 2 weeks ago. I can't remember when it was. We were talking about Bad Bunny and his Super Bowl halftime performance. Bad Bunny is a rapper. And we were talking on that episode over on Rumble about how rappers are basically field singers. The only reason why anybody raps is because they can't sing. And so the rappers they come up with this innovative way to classify themselves as a musician by basically talking. Because when you rap, you aren't singing, you are just talking. There is nothing melodic about being a rapper. You are just talking. It's like me talking right now. I'm basically rapping as I talk to you on this episode. So why am I talking about rappers? Because rappers are field singers. That's from the Bandido's perspective. If these rappers could actually sing, they wouldn't be rappers. They would be singers. If Bad Bunny, this rapper, or any of these other dudes who rap, if they could sing like Freddie Mercury, they wouldn't be rapping. They would be singing. So rappers are field singers. And these people who are involved in curling, they are field sports people. Who willingly decides? I mean, let's be honest, folks. Who willingly decides, okay, what am I going to do with my life? Oh, that's right. I want to be a sportsman or a sportswoman. Okay. So I want to dedicate my life to sports. Okay. Well, when I think of all of the sports in the world that could give me the biggest bang for my buck, what do I mean by the biggest bang for my buck? What I mean is per unit of energy invested and per unit of time invested in this sport, I am going to get more status. Because why does anybody play a sport? It is for status, folks. Playing sport is a sexual display. That's what it is. So if you're going to play a sport, you're going to want to essentially accumulate as much status as you can per unit of energy and time invested. It makes sense. If you're going to go and play a sport, you want to make sure that you're getting as much status as you can get per unit of energy invested. That makes sense. So naturally, for those of you out there in the world who are thinking, I want to dedicate my life to sport, what would come into your mind? Well, you would probably think of being a soccer player,
That's a global sport. You get lots of status for playing soccer, okay. Maybe I might become a tennis player. That's a very global sport as well, highly respected, lots of status to be gained there. Maybe become a golfer, a basketball player. If I live in America, maybe I'll play American football. You know, there are lots of sports to choose from, folks. Lots of sports. That per unit of energy invested, you're going to get lots of status. Now, let's be honest here. For those of you who want to dedicate your life to sport, how high on the list of sports is curling? Go on. Answer the question honestly. How high on the list of sports, if you had to dedicate your life to sport? How high on the list of potential sports that you would like to get involved in? Where would curling rank there? You know, brushing the ice? You know that sport where you take out your little brush and everybody's staring at this ball or this little stone go? You know that sport? Brushing the ice, and, you know, it's a very dynamic sport, isn't it, folks? It's very exciting watching someone roll a stone on ice very slowly, and then everybody's going, hey, and they're all brushing, and then the stone just slowly hits another stone. And then sometimes they get very excited when they are playing curling. Sometimes they just wing the stone, and everybody loses their mind in the stadium, or wherever it is they're all watching. So that's sport curling. How many of you, if you're thinking of, you know, dedicating your life to sport, how many of you are thinking, oh yes, I want to be a curling player? I'm sure there are lots of you that want to become curling players. You get a lot of status, don't you? You get a big bang for your buck there. In terms of per unit of energy invested, you get lots of status for being a curling player. Holy fuck. So anyway, curling, absolutely nobody understands the rules. Pretty much no one except the people who are out there playing understand the rules. Nobody really watches curling at all. The only reason people are watching curling now is because there's nothing else on the television. Oh, it's the Winter Olympics. I may as well just sit down and watch the curling. It's amazing what people will do when they are bored out of their bollocks. So nobody really watches curling. Nobody understands the rules. It's not really that exciting. And so if you are a curling player, or you are belonging to the International Association for Curling, if there's such a thing, and you're thinking, how the fuck do I promote this thing? How do I promote this? I mean, we are basically brushing the ice and very slowly releasing this stone that travels across the ice. How the fuck do I promote this? I mean, for the people who are trying to promote this sport, they really have their work cut out. How do you promote it? Well, credit where credit is due, folks. Because if we were to just put the sport of curling out into the open marketplace for sports, it probably isn't going to succeed. I think that would be fair to say. It's going to get out-competed. Not that many people are going to want to watch curling or become a curling player. But, that being said, you've got this enormous challenge to try and promote this sport. So, what can one do? Well, there's nothing like a good controversy to get your sport into the global headlines. Because here's the Bandido. The Bandido knows nothing about curling. He just knows that they are brushing the ice. Ice brushing. That's what I call it. So up until this morning, I had no idea what is happening in the world of curling. But you see, when there's a bit of controversy, this is perhaps the best PR that one can give to any sort of a sport or endeavor that's kind of struggling. It doesn't have a lot of sex appeal, curling. But you know, if you throw in a little bit of controversy, well, all of a sudden, people are talking about your sport. Here you have the Bandido on Bandido Talks, talking about curling. So it was clearly effective. It worked. And there's a lesson in that, folks, isn't there? And so we have to give credit where credit is due. Curling, no one cares about curling itself. But people love a bit of drama. That is what people do love. And so we have this incident here at the Winter Olympics. This Canadian curling team, men and women, have been accused of cheating. Ooh, cheating in sport. That gets the blood boiling in people. How dare you cheat in sport? And so it's kind of funny because nobody cares about the curling in itself. It's actually the controversy surrounding it. That is what has people interested. And so we have this interesting set of circumstances at the Winter Olympics for this Canadian curling team. And so they've done a good job. You know, maybe the International Curling Association and all of the teams at the Winter Olympics, maybe they all got together secretly in a little huddle away from the cameras. And maybe they all got together and said, folks, I know you're from Canada and you might be from Sweden and you're from Norway and you're from the United States. But folks, I know we are all competing against one another here, but nobody cares about our sport. You know, nobody cares. We are getting out-competed. We are brushing the ice. We are ice brushers. So what can we all do here, folks? And everybody gets into the huddle. Well, maybe if I change my brushing technique, that'll get people interested. Pat, for fuck's sake, that's a stupid idea. Nobody's going to care about your brushing technique. And then Betty, she says, oh, well, maybe if I throw the stone at a funny angle. Betty, shut up. Nobody cares about your technique when it comes to throwing the curling stone. Folks, we need to use our brains. Nobody cares about the sport. What could we do to get more eyeballs on our sport? And then Cornelius from Canada. He comes up with the solution. So all these teams are in this huddle. And Cornelius from Canada says, I've got an idea, folks. How about we generate a controversy? How about all of you guys from all of these different countries, how about you accuse us, the Canadians, of cheating? Because us as Canadians, we are the greats of the sport. We are the favourites to win. We have a great track record with curling and success in the Winter Olympics. So how about all of you guys accuse us of cheating? And that'll create this big controversy around our sport. And that'll get eyeballs onto the sport. Because there's no such thing as bad publicity, is there, folks? And everybody gets into the huddle and says, oh, well, Cornelius, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. So we'll all get involved in this scheme where we create this controversy. Maybe that's what all the curling teams did. Because maybe they were just staring at the facts of reality. And they thought, how are we going to get anybody talking about our sport? Controversy sells, folks. The drama, the theatre sells. And of course, one of these Canadian curling players, they were fucking and blinding, out on the ice, getting into a row with another team, and now it's made the headlines, and now everyone's talking about curling. Isn't that interesting, folks? Nobody cares about the sport, but they do care about the theatre and the drama. That does get people interested. So we're going to talk all about this on the show. We're going to talk all about curling, this scandal at the Winter Olympics. They're just accusations. Of course. Just accusations. I don't think anything has been proven yet. So we're going to get into this. There's a good lesson in this, folks, actually. A good lesson to be extracted from this story. But before we get into it, folks, I will remind you to give our stream a thumbs up, hit the like button, if this content is up your street. Of course, if you are joining us live, folks, get down into the live chat, leave your comments, leave your insights. We'll get to any live chats at the end of the show. Get down into the comments as well, folks. If you're watching this live event after it has concluded, let me know your thoughts about everything that we will talk about. And then finally, folks, if you like what we do in general here at Bandido Talks, if it's interesting, insightful, useful, or valuable to you, then feel free to subscribe to the channel here on YouTube, Bandido Talks. We are live Monday to Thursday at 5 p.m. Irish time here on YouTube. But if you feel like 4 live shows a week is not enough for you, please remember we are also live over on Rumble. We are live on Rumble at 6 p.m. Irish time, Monday to Thursday. So whenever we finish our show here on YouTube, the Bandido scoots right over to Rumble and does another live show on a completely different topic. So use the scrolling black banner below. You will find all of the details to direct you over to Rumble. Do it, of course, after this stream is finished. Don't miss out on the live event, folks. So anyway, subscribe here on YouTube to Bandido Talks, head over to Rumble after this live show, and subscribe to Bandido Talks on Rumble. You will get notified about all of our live content, all of our video uploads. Keep you in the loop, folks. So anyway, with all of that out of the road, let us get into this afternoon's show. Let us get fully into it. So curling, bit of a scandal, bit of a controversy here at the Winter Olympics. Now what I'm going to do is, for those of you who have absolutely no idea what I am talking about, I don't blame you, because as I've already said, who the fuck knows anything about the world of curling? So I don't want to take your knowledge for granted. I don't want to assume that you know more than what you really know. So what we're going to do is, we're going to read this little BBC article. Remember, folks, it's in the disclaimer. If you want to become educated, read the BBC's articles. Consume the BBC's content. Remember, Bandido Talks is for entertainment purposes only. So we're going to read this BBC article, get a feel for what has happened here, and then we're going to start extracting the lessons out of this. Because there is, folks, believe me. All joking aside, there is a good lesson to be learned from all of this. But first things first, let's read our article. So let me head over here. Head over to the BBC and read out what it is that it's saying about this whole controversy. The headline of the article is, "A Sad Day, Canada Rocked by Curling Cheating Row at Winter Games." Oh, well, a sad day indeed, folks. World-altering news, as I said. Let's read a few paragraphs here and see if we can get a good grounding in this. So the article says the following. A scandal at the Winter Olympics has left the Canadian curling teams on the defensive and Canadians reeling over the crack in their country's polite persona. Oh my. The article continues. Over the weekend, Canadian curler Mark Kennedy had an expletive-filled outburst after Sweden accused him of cheating during a match, and later said his team might be the target of a premeditated attack by their rivals. Remember I said they all got together in a huddle, folks? Maybe Mr. Mark Kennedy, maybe he's trying to give us the illusion that it's this premeditated attack. I actually don't deny that it's premeditated at all. Maybe they were all in their huddle. Maybe this is all orchestrated. The article goes on. Kennedy was accused of, quote, double touching. Oh Lord, we don't want to do that. Touching the stone a second time after initially releasing it down the ice. Lord Jesus. The next day, Canadian women's captain Rachel Holman was accused of using the same move. Sneaky Canadians, huh? Both have denied the accusations, but Canada's curling teams, who historically have dominated the sport, now face questions over their tactics. While the curlers have shown their anger over the situation during matches, fans of the sport and Canadians have questioned whether the team acted in the spirit of curling. Alright, I think there's enough from that. So we get the idea. Let me get my main screen back up here. And let's get into this. Okay, so this dude, Mark Kennedy, one of these curlers with the Canadian team, he double touched the stone. You should never do that, folks. Don't double touch the stone, the curling stone. So he's being accused of double touching. Excuse me. They are just accusations. This Swedish team has accused him of cheating. And then the women's Canadian curling team, they have had similar accusations launched their direction also. Now, as I've said, I haven't a fucking clue what the rules of curling are. This idea of double touching a stone makes no sense to me. But apparently you're not supposed to do this. Okay. So these people are being accused of cheating. These Canadian curling players. They have dominated the sport. Canada as a country dominates curling as a sport. And everybody's all bent out of shape. Now here's the funny thing, folks. Apparently, the governing body for curling hasn't punished the Canadians for any wrongdoing. So everybody's losing their minds here by cheating, cheating, cheating. The peons are saying cheating, cheating, cheating. They're just accusations. Sweden have just launched an accusation against the Canadians. It hasn't even been proven, it seems. There has been no action taken against these Canadians. And everybody's all bent out of shape, twisted into a pretzel about this. And I wonder, these people who are twisted in a pretzel, do they even understand the rules of curling? Probably not. It would be like something a peon would do, complain about something that they don't even understand. But whether they cheated or not, and we have to be fair here, folks, it is just an accusation. I can accuse you or anyone of anything. Accusations are absolutely meaningless without any solid evidence. If there's no evidence and the governing body doesn't seem to have punished or taken action against the Canadians, then why is everybody getting all pissed off just because some Swedish dudes accused the Canadians of cheating? Now, of course, this has worked out very well for curling in general, because curling is now in the news. And as I've already said, there's no such thing as bad publicity. So curling is now being talked about, when probably nobody was talking about it. So it's not a bad thing for the sport, really. And we do have to be fair. They are just accusations. As far as I can tell, they are just accusations at the time of this stream. No action seems to have been taken. Let me just verify that. I'm almost sure it says in the article that there's no action. So the Canadians have denied the accusations. Let me see. Let me read down here. Kennedy got a verbal warning from World Curling for his foul language, but he was not formally charged with cheating by the governing body. There we go. Let me read that out again, just to make that crystal clear. Mark Kennedy, he got a verbal warning from the World Curling Association for foul language, because he was fucking and blinding about being accused about this, apparently. But he was not formally charged with cheating by the governing body. Okay, so there we go. Now let me get my screen back up here. So you all need to calm down, folks. Just because the Swedish team said that they cheated, that doesn't mean they actually cheated. They haven't been charged with cheating. And I don't understand the rules, and I won't be taking the time to understand the rules. So right now, they are innocent, it would seem. So that's the first thing. Everybody needs to get their knickers out of a twist. You can't just believe the Swedish folk. Because who knows, did Sweden lose this match? They probably did. That's the reason why they're probably bitching, whining and complaining. That's why this Swedish dude is all bent out of shape. They probably lost, Canada probably beat them, and now there's a campaign to try and make it out as if there was cheating involved, there was foul play, and that's the reason why Sweden lost. Alright, Swedish dude, nobody cares. Nobody cares about your complaining. The governing body hasn't charged the Canadian dude who you are accusing of cheating. So nobody really cares about what you have to say, because nothing formally has happened yet. So anyway, everybody's getting all annoyed about cheating. Oh, they cheated! The peons are saying he cheated! Come on! We need to maintain the integrity of sport. Why are you saying this? He hasn't been charged of anything. He was given a warning for his foul language, which has nothing to do with this double touching of the stone. So if you are complaining about this, you're an idiot, because there's no evidence yet, it would seem, to actually back up this accusation from this Swedish dude. They are just accusations, folks. We know this. How many times has someone been accused of something, they've been taken to court, and Lord Jesus, we find out that the accuser has been telling a few porky pies for some agenda that has been hidden from everyone, but we then find out subsequently that, oh yes, there's been a bit of deception for some other motivation. Accusations cannot be taken seriously, folks, until we have evidence. We know this. So it's no different here. So that's the first thing I would say. Mark Kennedy and the rest of his team in this case. However many people are in a curling team, I don't know. 4 or 5, whatever it is. They haven't been charged with anything. Get over it. No rule has been broken, it would seem. They've been accused of breaking a rule, but no rule has been formally broken. Alright, so we need to be fair in that sense. Now, the broad lesson here, folks, though, and there is a broad lesson here. And what is the lesson? Now, as I've already said, these are just accusations, and as far as we can tell at the time of this stream, Mark Kennedy and the rest of his team are guilty of nothing. The only thing, if we want to say they are guilty of, is that they used foul language while they were playing. Fine. They aren't guilty of cheating, though, at the time of this stream. So we have to be fair and clear about that. But let's imagine they did cheat. We have no evidence at present. The governing body is not saying they did cheat, but let's imagine they did cheat. Just for the sake of our show, so that we can extract a lesson here. So let's say Mark Kennedy and his Canadian team, the rest of his team, and let's say the women's curling team as well, let's say the Canadians all got together and they came up with this illegal strategy that was going to be later revealed to be cheating. Let's say they came up with this and they tried to, deceive people by making it out that they were actually playing by the rules when they weren't really. So let's say this was this premeditated attempt to try and deceive the public and cheat. Let's imagine this is what actually happened. Even though we have no evidence of that yet, but let's say it did. Let's say that did happen. Let's say the Canadians have been cheating left, right and centre during the Winter Olympics. Okay. So there's an important thing to learn here, folks. When we are engaging with life, we all want to be successful. Of course we do. No matter what it is that we are doing. It goes without saying, we want to be successful. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to win. Because being successful means you are winning at whatever it is you are doing. So it's fine to want to win. It's fine to want to succeed in life. Perfectly normal. No problem. Now, when it comes to success and winning in life, this is what we are going to define as the outcome or the destination. So when you win at life or when you have success in life, you have arrived at a particular destination and you've achieved a particular outcome. That's fair to say. Now, what we need to remember, folks, is that when we have success at anything, normally there is a journey or a process that we have to undertake, that we have to engage with. So there's a journey that we embark on. There's a process that we engage with that leads us towards the destination or the desired outcome. You don't just become successful out of thin air in life. You don't just win in life without investing diligent effort and time into a process. We all know this, folks. If you want to get good at something, if you want to win at life and have success, what do you need to do? You need to invest diligent time and effort into the process or journey that leads you to the desired outcome or the destination. In other words, what is it that I'm saying? What I'm saying is there's always a process that backs up any success. The person who has had success, they've had to go through a process. They've had to embark on a journey. Now, when you see this person succeeding or winning at life, you don't get to see that. You don't get to see all the hours, all the effort, all the practice, all the mistakes, all the learning points that have taken place throughout this process. You don't get to see any of this. You just see the person winning at life and succeeding. But we all know that no one is successful without all of this stuff that I've just mentioned. You have to become successful, to win at life, you have to put in a lot of diligent time and effort into a process. And most people will never see all of that diligent time and effort. But when you invest in this way, you move through the process. You walk along the path, you embark on a journey, and then, having invested all of this time and effort, all of this diligent energy, you then, some of us are lucky enough to arrive at the destination, to achieve the desired outcome. And folks, is there anything really, is there a better feeling in life? It has to be one of the best feelings in life when you have diligently invested time and effort into a process or a journey. Is there any better feeling than knowing that you've invested this time and energy? That when you actually achieve the desired outcome or you reach the destination, isn't it so satisfying when you earn what it is that you've achieved? What do I mean by earn? Well, when I say earn, what I mean is you know, nobody else has seen it, but you know how much time and effort and diligence that you've put into this process, into this endeavor. How many miles you've walked throughout this journey towards this destination. You know this. And is there anything, it has to be one of the most satisfying things in the world, folks, when you know that you have given everything throughout the process, and then you arrive at the destination, and you achieve what it is that you set out to achieve. Because you arrive at the destination having earned every step that you've taken along the way. And that sense of, quote, earning what it is that you get in this life, what does that result in? It results in a feeling of what? What is the feeling that we have whenever we've truly earned what it is that we've accomplished in this life? What is that feeling? How do we describe it? What's the word we are looking for? Pride. We feel proud of ourselves. That's how we would describe it. When we achieve something, knowing that we've diligently invested and we've really earned what it is that we've achieved. We use words like pride and feeling proud. We feel proud of ourselves. We feel like we respect ourselves. We've earned our own self-respect. And isn't that quite a feeling, folks? When you know that you've earned your way in life, that you haven't cut any corners, you haven't screwed someone over, or you haven't cheated. Because you see, there are two ways, folks, to arrive at the desired outcome or the destination. There's the first way that I've just explained, where you've invested the diligent time and effort into the process along the journey, and you arrive at the destination, and you achieve the desired outcome through your blood, sweat, your effort. You feel this sense that you've earned what it is that you've got in this life. That's one way you can arrive at the destination. You can arrive there feeling like you've truly earned what you've got. And having that feeling of pride in yourself, feeling proud of yourself, feeling like you've earned your own self-respect. You can go into any room in your house where there's a mirror and you can look at yourself in the mirror and you can feel proud. You can puff your chest out, pin your shoulders back and say, you know what? Pat on the back. I earned this. And I did it the right way. I did it through diligent effort, energy, and time invested in a process. That's one way that you can arrive at the destination. There's a second way that you can arrive at the destination. And you know what the second way is? Cutting corners, stabbing people in the back, throwing them onto the bus, and cheating. That's the second way that you can arrive at the destination and achieve the desired outcome. Now answer me this, folks. Are you going to have the same feeling of pride in your actions? Are you going to feel proud of yourself? Are you going to earn your own self-respect if you take the second route towards our destination or desired outcome? What sort of a feeling do you think you're going to have if you arrive at the destination knowing that you haven't invested the diligent time, energy, and effort in the process throughout the journey, and instead of doing that, you have fucked people over, stabbed them in the back, you've cheated, you've scammed people? What sort of a feeling do you think you're going to have if that's how you arrive at the destination? I'm going to describe the feeling to you in one word. Disgust. You will feel disgusted at yourself. And even if no one else knows that you have cheated, let's imagine you've pulled off this spectacular scam where you have been cheating, lying, deceiving, and screwing people over, throwing them onto the bus, cutting corners. Let's imagine you've schemed your way to the destination, but nobody realizes that you haven't actually earned what it is that you've accomplished. You've fucked and screwed people over. and you've cheated and cut corners. Let's imagine nobody knows that. So you arrive at the destination and everybody is applauding you and cheering your name and saying, well done, you achieved what you set out to achieve. And you're getting all of this esteem, all of this admiration from people. What's the problem here, folks, with this second route that we can take towards the destination? Well, you see, here's the problem. You see all that esteem that you're going to get, all of that admiration, because of course people don't know. People don't know what your process was. You've managed to conceal all of the shady stuff that you've been getting up to. Nobody knows about that. But you see, someone does know. There's one person that does know. And do you know who that person is? You. You know. You know that you cheated. You know that you screwed people over. You know that you cut corners. You know that you didn't diligently engage with the process and the journey. And you know what that will result in? It'll result in a feeling of disgust. You will be disgusted at yourself. And you know what will happen? You lose your own self-respect. You won't even have your own self-respect. And so you get to the destination. You achieve, you actually literally, you get what you were looking. But then, you know what happens? You know what you realize if you do that? What you realize is, oh dear, you know what? I thought it was all about the destination and the outcome. That's what you thought. And because you thought it was all about the destination and the outcome, you just found any way to get yourself there. Screwing people over, cheating and cutting corners. You didn't care. You just wanted to get there. And then see, once you get there, you realize that there's a hollow feeling inside. And see, whenever you get that hollow feeling is one of disgust. There's an emptiness. You're getting no positive feedback from your own mind. Your own mind, your own internal audience is disgusted at your own actions. And you can feel this emptiness, this hollowness inside. Because while nobody else knows that you cheated your way to the destination, you do. And it's only then, in a moment like that, do you realize, oh dear, I have been looking at life the wrong way. Life, folks, is not about the destination. It really isn't. The destination, or the desired outcome, that's like the cherry on top. It's very nice when you arrive at the destination that you were looking to arrive at. It's very nice. It's a very satisfying feeling, as I've said. But it's only a satisfying feeling if you've earned your way there. It's not just good enough, folks, to reach the destination. It's about how you reach the destination. It's not about reaching it, but how you reach the destination. In other words, it's actually about the journey. It's about the process that leads to the desired outcome. It's about the journey that leads to the destination. That is what life is all about. Yes, the destination and the outcome, that's the cherry on top. But realize, folks, if you haven't earned your way there, the destination doesn't count for shit. Because you're going to have the hollow, empty feeling. You won't have your own self-respect. You won't feel proud of yourself. You won't feel like you've earned it. You will feel disgusted. And folks, this is critically important to understand because so many of you out there, you want to cut corners. You want to try and find any way. It doesn't matter who you screw over. It doesn't matter how you cheat your way to the destination. It doesn't matter what sort of a corner you cut. There are those of you out there who think it's all about the destination. That it's all about the outcome. And it isn't. And it's only when you arrive there. It's only when you arrive there and you feel that hollowness, that emptiness, that lack of self-respect, that lack of pride, that feeling of disgust. It's only then do you realize, oh my goodness, it was never about the destination. I thought it was about the destination. I thought it was about this outcome. But then you realize it actually isn't. It's about the journey. It's about the process. And it's about how I have engaged with the process. Have I earned my way to the destination? Have I invested the honest, diligent time, energy, and effort in the process? And you know the beautiful thing about this, folks? You see, if you engage with the process, with honesty in this case, with diligence, you put in the effort, you put in the energy, you put in the time. You know the brilliance about this? You see, if you don't reach the destination, it doesn't matter. So even if you don't accomplish the goal that you set out to accomplish, it doesn't matter. So yes, isn't it great that when we arrive at the destination, isn't that great? Yes. But you know what, folks? You see, if you've actually engaged with the process and you've been diligent and you've invested all that time, energy, and effort, it actually doesn't matter. That's the brilliant thing. Of course we want to win at life. Of course we want to succeed. Of course we want to, quote, arrive at our destination. Of course we want to achieve what it is that we set out to achieve. But remember, folks, whether you achieve it or not, whether you arrive at the destination or not, that isn't the important thing. Because you can arrive at the destination cheating and screwing people over, and it doesn't matter at all. You'll have the hollow, empty feeling, the feeling of disgust. It's not about the destination, folks. It's about the process and the journey towards the destination. And you see, if you don't even make it to the destination, it still doesn't even matter. All it means is that you readjust, you take a different route. Because even if you don't accomplish what you set out to accomplish, you will still maintain your own self-respect and your own pride in your actions and your effort. Life is very forgiving, folks. Life is very forgiving if you just give your best. It's really forgiving. I hear people say life is so harsh. Life is so unfair. Bollocks. You get what you deserve in this life, folks. If you are someone who cuts corners and cheats, screws people over, then guess what? You're going to feel hollow and empty and disgusted at yourself. Independent of whether you actually achieve the desired outcome. You may still reach the destination, but you've reached it in a way whereby you've lost your own self-respect and you're hollow inside. There's no use in that. The destination acquires zero meaning if you reach it through those means, by taking that route of cheating and screwing people over and cutting corners. Yes, we want to win. Yes, we want to succeed. But we don't do it at the expense of the process. You never sacrifice the process. You never sacrifice the journey. That is where life's great gifts actually lie. They lie in the process. They lie in the journey. When you reach the destination, great, you've reached the destination. Okay, there's a sense of satisfaction that you've earned it. Absolutely. It's a wonderful feeling for the short amount of time that it lasts. But folks, we all know this. Once you reach the destination, sure, there's a short-term euphoria. And then what happens? Well, we sort of think to ourselves, well, okay, now I'm here. Now I've achieved what I wanted to achieve, and what's next? It's on to the next journey and the next process. Life is all about the journey, folks. It's all about the process, and it's all about how you engage with the process. How much diligence and effort and energy you want to put into it. How much you want to earn your way in this life. And the big lesson here, folks, is, because we're relating this back to the Winter Olympics and the curling, it doesn't matter whether it's sport, music, business, I don't care what it is. You want to earn your way to the destination, to the desired outcome. You want to engage diligently with the process. You want to engage and strap in for the journey. You want to do it in the right way. You want to always make sure that no matter what happens in life, you maintain your own self-respect. No matter what happens in life, you want to make sure that you're proud of your actions, that you're proud of your decision-making, that you're proud of your effort. You always want to give your best. Sometimes you will arrive at the destination, sometimes you won't. Sometimes you will fail, and that's fine. Because failure is only a disaster when you haven't actually engaged with the process. Failure is not a disaster if you've given your absolute best and you've invested diligently in the process. You're just going to learn something interesting. You will still have your self-respect. You will still feel proud of yourself. You may feel disappointed that you didn't get the outcome that you were looking. You may feel disappointed that you didn't arrive at the destination. That's fine. The disappointment will be short-term. It'll be short-lived. You will have your self-respect fully replenished, fully maxed out. You won't lose that, and you feel proud of yourself, independent of the result or the outcome. And if we're looking at the Winter Olympics here, yes, there are gold medals and silver medals and bronze medals up for grabs here. Whether you win a medal or not, who gives a shit? That's the destination. That's the outcome. It's all about the process. How diligently did you train? Did you give your absolute best when you were training? Were you meticulous? When you were competing, did you compete honestly? Or did you cheat? Did you cheat yourself and did you cheat the audience? Because the reality is, folks, you can't deceive yourself. You may be able to cheat yourself. Cheat yourself out of pride and the sense of earning what it is that you've accomplished. You can cheat yourself out of that, definitely. But you can't deceive yourself. You truly know how you've engaged with the process. And that's the big lesson here. It doesn't matter what is being dangled in front of you. Never sell yourself out. Never sell out your self-respect. Always diligently engage with any process. Always embrace the journey. Because, folks, it is the journey of life. That is where all of the enjoyment in life is basically to be had. It's in the journey. When you get to the destination, there's a short-lived euphoria, and then it's like, okay, great. How can we embark on a new journey? The journey is where the fun is, folks. Never sacrifice the journey. Because if you sacrifice the journey by cutting corners and cheating and throwing people under the bus, you will be the one who is left with the feeling of disgust, with the hollow emptiness inside. Even if you deceive everyone else, you will truly know what has happened. And that is a miserable state to live in. It's a state whereby you don't even have your own self-respect. What sort of a psychological state is that to be in? It's what we call misery, folks. It's a miserable state. You feel disgusted at yourself. Never sacrifice the journey. Never sacrifice the process. Earn your way in life. And even if you don't make it to the destination, even if you don't achieve what you set out to achieve, fine. Make sure you always have your self-respect intact. Make sure you earn whatever it is that you're going to get out of life. Because that way you can look at yourself in the mirror and be proud of what it is that you've done. You might be disappointed, as I've said, that you didn't achieve the outcome. That's fine. That'll pass. You'll move on to another project. You'll get it stuck into another journey towards another destination. And you learn the lesson and you get back on again. Back on the bus. And off we go. So anyway, that's curling. That's the Winter Olympics, folks. I don't think there's anybody in the live chat. Let me have a quick look here. I don't think there's anybody here. Nobody in the live chat. And so that draws our show to a close, folks. Again, I will remind you to give the stream a thumbs up if you enjoyed what you were listening to. Get down into the comments. Let me know your thoughts about everything that we talked about. Process, folks, and journey. That's where the fun's to be had in life. Never sacrifice it. And then finally, folks, if you like in general what we do here at Bandido Talks, then feel free to subscribe to the channel here on YouTube. I'm going to head over to Rumble. We've got a live show over on Rumble in a few minutes. Feel free to join me over on Rumble. Subscribe to Bandido Talks over on Rumble. Use the scrolling black banner below. You will find all the details to direct yourself over there. That is everything from me this evening, folks. Get busy enjoying the journey of life, engaging diligently with the process. And then we shall renew acquaintances tomorrow evening, folks, here on YouTube, 5 p.m. Irish time. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And with all of that said, folks, it is over and out from the Bandido.